Well, Buckeye fans, Ohio State advanced in the NCAA tournament, beating Loyola Chicago this afternoon, Friday afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. 54-41. I'm Patrick Murphy here with Steve Hellwagon. We're from Bucknuts and 247 Sports. Steve, you are our man on the ground this weekend in Pittsburgh for the games. First, I think the kind of thing people noticed early, a bit of a sleepy start. What was it like in the arena with an early tip, the first game of the day?
Yes, it was very sleepy, to be honest with you. And both teams struggled with their shooting early in the game. And it was a rock fight, as the Loyola coach Drew Valentine had described it. And both teams really struggled trying to find their rhythm for the game. Loyola ended up shooting 27%, 15 of 56. They were 29% on threes, 8 of 28, and 30% at the foul line, 3 of 10. First time they've been held under 30% in a game in 5 years. Ohio State wasn't much better, shot 42% from the floor, 1 of 15 on threes. That's 6.7%. And Ohio State, 54 points, the fewest they've had in an NCAA tournament win since 1961. And you think about the bigger picture here, Pat. This is a team that had lost 4 of its last 5 games to end the season and had been left for dead by just about everybody. Should have been a 4 seed based on how they played up until mid-February after the win at Illinois, but then really went into the dumper after that, had the injuries with Kyle Young and Zed Key. Both of them make their triumphant return today, and here the Buckeyes come out with a resounding NCAA tournament win by 13 points over Loyola Chicago, one of the top defensive teams in the country. Ohio State turned the tables on them and made their life miserable at the offensive end.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the defense, which is where I wanted to go first. This is a team, we talked with Chris Holtman all year, that hasn't been great defensively. Somehow they turned it on today. Loyola Chicago didn't shoot the ball well themselves. They had some open looks, but multiple blocks, I think 4 or 5 by the Buckeyes. What did you see that was different in this defensive effort today?
Yeah, they really contested the shots, and I think they took a cue from Loyola. Loyola was very physical with Malachi Branham in particular in the first half and made his life difficult. E.J. Liddell only took 2 shots, I think, in the first half and missed them both, and just really wasn't even a factor on the offensive end. Had 4 free throws, and that was it. So the Buckeyes decided, hey, if they're going to be physical with us, we can be physical with them. And Loyola missed probably 8 or 10 shots point blank in this game. Several of them were deflected or blocked by Ohio State. Ohio State had 5 blocked shots, with Liddell had 3 of those. Liddell was the leading scorer, 16 points and 10 rebounds, another double-double for him. Malachi Branham had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals for him. So huge game for the freshman. And we touched on Kyle Young a moment ago, 9 points, 7 rebounds, played 35 minutes, his first game in 17 days. 17 days since he'd suffered the concussion against Nebraska. So you put all that together. I think when you have Young and you have Key in there defensively, it just makes so much more of a difference because Young is such a versatile guy. He can hedge on the screens, the high ball screens, which was a problem without him. And Loyola just was never in a position to do much offensively in this game. I mean, it was just a miserable day for Loyola offensively.
You led me right into the next thing I wanted to touch on, and that was Kyle Young. You said it, he'd been out for 17 days. He comes back from that concussion, starts the game, which I think some people were surprised about, but he gave them that versatility you mentioned. Steve, he's not a huge stat guy. I mean, he finished the game with, 9 points, 7 rebounds, which is good, had 4 fouls, but just the energy, the effort that he brings on the court seems to just infect the rest of this team. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it really does. He got a surprise start in this game. They had produced a sheet that said that Joey Brunk was going to start the game, and then when they introduced the team, it was Kyle Young. So that was a little bit of a curveball, and maybe they had put that into the stat broadcast prior to the announcement. But at any rate, I asked Coach Holtman about that. He just happened to be standing next to my position where I was shooting photos before the game. And I said, "You snuck him in on us there." And he goes, "Well, that was not done with any kind of intent." So I don't know if they decided. I think up until 10 minutes before the game, you can make those decisions. And then at 10 minutes, you have to lock in who you want. If you make a change, it may be a technical foul after that point, unless somebody maybe injures themselves, I guess, during the last 10 minutes of warmups. But at any rate, he got the start. And this guy is a warrior and a Buckeye through and through. And if this was the last game he ever plays in that Ohio State's wins, he left it all out there. Obviously, of who they may play on Sunday, Villanova or Delaware, as we tape this, they're playing right now. It's going to be a tough game either way, whoever wins that game. So you look at Kyle Young, everything he's given for this program, and to come back, said he really wasn't sure he was going to be able to play in this game up until a few days ago. He started feeling a little bit better. They were a little coy with us yesterday in the open practice. He didn't do a whole lot. Just kind of stood in one spot and shot one three-pointer after another. And he made 7 of them in a row, I believe, at one point as I was watching him. So I kind of thought maybe this guy's going to play. And he did crack off a three-pointer early in the game and missed it. And had another miss early, but then they ran a slip screen for him out of a timeout. He caught it, went in for a dunk, and I think that's what got Ohio State energized and kind of going, is that their guy was back and he made a play. And he was on the floor probably 5 or 6 times in this game with the concussion issues that he'd had. He just laid it all on the line and helped this team. Didn't want his career to be over, and this team did not want its season to be over either. And now they're going to play on Sunday against the winner of this Villanova-Delaware game.
Yeah, you mentioned Young early. E.J. Liddell hits 2 free throws, but it was Kyle Young who got the first points of the game from the court. And, with that dunk early, I really thought he was a difference maker. But we can't talk about this team without talking about E.J. Liddell, Malachi Branham. We'll start with Liddell. He finishes with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, I think you said. This team's going to go as far as E.J. Liddell can carry them. He wasn't perfect today, struggled. Obviously, you mentioned only 2 shots in the first half, but put in a good second half performance, enough to get the Buckeyes the win. He's going to have to continue to be huge, and obviously he sees a lot of attention from the opponent.
No doubt about it. And he is Ohio State's go-to guy, no question about it. He is the guy that leads this team in every aspect. And, he said that he knew that he needed to lay it all on the line. He didn't seem quite right in the first half. I don't know if he was fighting a little bit of illness or something, but he came out in the second half and started to attack Loyola's physicality. And as I said, Ohio State's players on the defensive end, and he was able to attack, get the ball into the lane, and make some tough shots. And that was critical. He had a couple baskets, I think, to start the second half. Ohio State scored the first 6 points of the second half, so it went from 5 to 11 immediately. And I don't know if Loyola got closer than 6 or 7 after that point. So, their offense was so sporadic and so spotty that they just couldn't generate any kind of a threat. And you never really got the sense that they were going to get back into this thing. And Liddell, again, stepped up. He had 10 rebounds, another double-double for him. That's at least his 5th or 6th double-double of the season. And when you're on this stage, in this arena, playing for a chance to advance the NCAA tournament, you need your All-American guy to step up and make the play, and he did that. So hats off to him. He ended up 4 of 9 shooting from the field, 0 of 2 on threes, 8 of 10 on free throws, 16 points. He drew 7 fouls. That's amazing. And had 3 turnovers, 3 block shots, 1 assist, and just another huge game, obviously, for E.J. Liddell.
Yeah, and credit Loyola Chicago's defense early. I thought they did a good job, not only on him with the double teams and whatnot, but on Malachi Branham. Malachi finishes with 14 points, 5 of 7 shooting, 5 rebounds. I tweeted this during the game. every Malachi point is great, but it's also a step closer to him deciding to go to the NBA. The further they go in this, the further he does well.
Oh,
We'll see what ends up happening. It was more of a joke. I think some people took it more literally, but another good performance from him. He really got them going in that first half, had that steal and the dunk in transition. I think he had like 8 straight points or something like that. This kid's just playing above what I think everyone thought, even though they knew he was a talented player coming into the season.
yeah, no question about it. He came up big on the game's biggest stage, the NCAA tournament, national television on CBS from coast to coast. In the on now knows much more about Malachi Branham. He was 5 of 6 floor, 4 of 4 at the foul line, had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals. Just did an outstanding job. He had 3 turnovers, 2 assists. He played 28 minutes, so he was very much involved in this. And they do what they can to manage his minutes because he is a young guy. Early in the game, he was getting roughed up a little bit. They weren't calling fouls. A lot of, he would get hit and the ball would be loose for a second. And he'd go retrieve it and go back to work. And they were all up in him. And under the letter of the law, they didn't have 2 hands on him, but they were chucking him pretty hard. So they weren't calling those fouls early in the game. He just started to play through it. And he had a couple big shots in that first half that kept Ohio State in this game. Had 10 of his points in the first half. Ohio State only scored 23 points in the first half, so he was the guy that kept him in it. He's another great story out of this game. Those 3 guys, Branham, Young, and Liddell, again, there were other guys that made plays. I mean, Michi Johnson hit a big 3 in the second half. Jamari Wheeler made some good plays well at times. So a lot of guys had their fingerprints on this one. But again, a total team effort for Ohio State. Really, team defense is probably the story that comes out of this, that as bad as they were defensively in the losses to Michigan and Penn State just in the last 10 days, they really turned the tables on that, played so much better defensively. And now you got to figure they've got a chance. If they can just generate a little bit more offense. I mean, 54 points isn't enough to win an NCAA tournament game ever, except today. But if they can generate some offense, they may have a chance to get to their first Sweet 16 since 2013. And I'm stuck here in the Iron City for 2 more days. So there you go. A lot of exciting developments there.
Steve, I know you guys just got done talking with Coach Holtmann. Obviously, I don't think there was any real pressure in terms of his job, but he was asked a lot about last year and the end of the season. How important do you think this win was just to kind of get the monkey off the back of kind of the bad taste out of your mouth the last few weeks and get over what happened last year for him?
Yeah, and he handled those questions in stride, I thought.
Yeah.
That and he's handled this whole situation in stride. I did a story this morning about how he needed to have positive leadership to lead this team through the tough stretch. They lost 4 of their last 5 games, 3 of those losses to teams with losing records, Maryland, Nebraska, and Penn State. And embarrassing. And yet they found a way, got the guys healthy that they had to get healthy and stayed with the plan. And, again, one of 3 teams in a Power 5 conference to win 20 games 5 years in a row. Only 3 teams, Kansas, Oregon, Ohio State, not Michigan State, not Indiana, not Illinois, not Iowa, not Purdue, not Kentucky, not North Carolina, not Duke, not UCLA. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. So this guy's not going anywhere. Gene Smith was sitting right behind the bench, watched the whole thing. And Holtmann's got 3 years left on his contract. It'll be interesting to see if Ohio State rips that up this offseason and gives him a contract extension, or if they want to wait until after next season. He's got 5 outstanding freshman signees coming in, and they're going to have to be you heard here, if anybody saw Drew Valentine's comments, which we're going to post them here on the site, he openly admitted we have to be very active in the portal. Ohio State, likewise, needs to be very active in the portal. So if they're going to have any kind of a team next year with the 5 new guys and the 5 guys they've got coming back. So Brandon was asked about it yesterday if he'd even considered it yet. He said he hadn't thought about it, just concentrating on what's going on right now with his team and, take it from there.
Steve, last thing before we get back to work here. You mentioned Chris Holtmann in the contract. One thing that could be a gambling chip for him is if he can make a run with this team, as you mentioned earlier. We don't know who they'll play yet. Villanova, I think, has taken the lead as we record this. They're up 2 on Delaware at this moment. We'll see who they play. But in your mind, what's the key for the Buckeyes to get another win on Sunday? What do they have to do to keep this train rolling?
Well, they got to do much better offensively, obviously, and the flow was disrupted by Loyola. So that, to me, is the big thing. If it is Villanova, they've got an outstanding lead guard, Colin Gillespie, who's just one of the top guards in college basketball. And Villanova has the pedigree. I mean, they've won 2 of the last 5 national championships and are always a factor in this tournament to make a deep run. It wasn't always that way under Jay Wright. They usually went out the first weekend with great teams. Until about 5 years ago, they started to go deep in the tournament and had a determined group of guys, and they won 2 national championships. So they've got a culture of championships, and Ohio State's going to have to overcome that. If it is Villanova, they're going to have to overcome that culture that Villanova has built because they've got guys who've gone deep in this tournament. Their fifth-year guys would have been on the championship team that they had. So, you think about it, it's going to be a tough game, as we said. Villanova or Delaware, whoever it is. We were joking, if it's Delaware, it'd be a 15 seed for the second year in a row, and they lost to a 15 last year with Oral Roberts. Wouldn't it be something to win a game and beat Loyola, but then get knocked out by a 15 if it was Delaware? But perish the thought. My guess is it will be Villanova. It should be one heck of a game here on Sunday. My guess is it'll be one of the early 2 games on CBS because the other game here could be Houston against Illinois. And so if you did that doubleheader on CBS at 12:15 and 2:30, you're taking in most of the nation's top markets with Philadelphia, Chicago, Houston, Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland. So to me, it makes sense that would be the early doubleheader on CBS.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We'll know tonight about 12:30.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get out of here. Steve, enjoy the rest of your time there in Pittsburgh. We'll have plenty more up on Bucknuts here shortly.
It's a tough job over here, I have to tell you. It's a tough job.
Right.
We went down to Carson Street in the Station Square last night for St. Patrick's Day. It was going off the chain, and probably going to try and relax tonight.
Good. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you listen to this after the fact, we appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that really helps us. We'll be back on Sunday, but we'll have plenty more before then. Steve, thanks again. We will talk to you all soon.